Ren broke the blue wax seal, intrigued by the envelope's formality. Then he extracted a letter written in elegant calligraphy. Dear Ren, I have spoken with the director about your performance during the expedition. Your support was crucial, and more importantly, you demonstrated an exceptional understanding of beasts that frankly intrigues me. The director has authorized a special support of 100,000 credits for the exchange store. Consider it recognition for a promising student. Perhaps I should start believing in that knowledge of yours, and see what it can do with a small push. Whatever you're planning, I hope this helps you achieve it. I'll be absent for a while arranging certain matters. We'll see each other upon my return. Professor Zhao. Ren read the letter twice, processing the implications. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed with accelerated rhythm. 100,000 credits, his eyes shone while making mental calculations. With that he could buy the materials, his parents' runes, and save his crystals for other needs. Perhaps the mantis core wouldn't have to wait so long.
Jesse,
he called while returning to the counter.
I need to make some purchases.
So soon, are you sure about?
Jessie was still worried, but her expression changed upon seeing the official letter.
Oh.
I have authorized credits.
Ren showed the director's signature.
I need specific materials.
Jessie checked the authorization with increasingly widening eyes, then checked the credit book.
100,000. It's true. What do you need?
First 10,000 in discarded bronze rank beast parts.
Ren began listing.
But only tissues from woody or rocky beasts like the rock crocodile you had a few weeks ago.
Woody ones.
Jessie consulted the catalog.
We have some forest guardian remains and still have some of the crocodile you mentioned. But are you thinking of cultivating a ghoul monkey?
Don't worry, I know what to use them for. I also need poisonous fungi, the luminescent ones imported from there.
Jessie worried slightly.
Those are 3,000 each. How many?
10.
Ren responded without hesitation.
30,000 just in fungi.
Jessie made notes.
The woody tissues would be about another 10,000. Anything else?
1 intelligence rune and 2 vitality ones.
Jessie stopped her pen.
Those are quite common, but...
Do you have them?
Yes, but...
Jessie hesitated.
That's another 30,000 credits. And normally they're only used by beasts that can process large amounts of information. The vitality ones aren't good either. A spore.
She stopped, uncomfortable.
Spore wouldn't benefit because it only slightly increases strength, right?
I didn't mean...
Doesn't matter.
Ren smiled.
I want them anyway.
Jessie nodded and began processing the order.
It'll take a while to gather everything. The discarded parts are in the special warehouse and the runes in the vault.
While waiting, Ren mentally reviewed his plans. The crystals he'd gotten from the skins would serve other purposes. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed softly. Soon, very soon, everyone would understand that a spore could be much more than they imagined.
Here you go.
Jessie returned with several sealed containers.
The fungi are in special containers. They're extremely toxic. The tissues are preserved with their original moss, and the runes...
She held a small crystal box. Inside, a translucent stone glowed with a faint bluish radiance.
Be careful with them,
she warned while Ren examined it.
They're very sensitive to magical energies, and you could ruin them.
Ren nodded while carefully storing each component. His knowledge showed him exactly how to use each piece, how to combine the elements to achieve something no one would expect from a simple spore.
Now for your 49,500 crystals, we have 2 options.
Jessie turned to check a small box.
I can't store student credits. The ones from the letter are special case, like some other bonuses and rewards. For storing, you must go to the bank section. Or you can keep them with you, so you can withdraw part of the 30,000 you have left, but can't store more here. I can give you 49 normal gold crystals, which are quite bulky. Or if you want to withdraw 500 more crystals or have something to exchange and complete the 50,000.
Her eyes sparkled.
I can give you 5 dark bronze crystals. They're worth the same, but the bronze ones are smaller and easier to transport.
Ren considered his options. Normal gold crystals were apple-sized spheres, each worth 1,000 basic crystals. Dark bronze ones, on the other hand, barely reached the size of a walnut, but each was worth 10,000. Ren gave her the herbs he'd obtained from the barkstalker's shell to complete the last 500. He didn't want to withdraw or ruin the nice round number of his 30,000 credits for now.
The 5 dark bronze ones, please.
Jessie nodded while opening a special box. Inside, small crystals shone with a soft dark tone.
Thank you, Jesse.
He said goodbye while securing the last container.
You've been a great help.
Come back anytime.
She smiled.
And good luck with your cultivation.
There was some pity in her voice, but also genuine kindness. Ren couldn't blame her. No one would expect a spore to go very far. Soon they'll understand, he thought, while leaving the warehouse. He could finally begin. The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed with anticipation while he spread the shadow stalker skins across his bedsheet. Their conductive fibers, perfectly preserved, absorbed light, creating a space of deep darkness. Working methodically, Ren hung more skins using sheets as support until forming a sort of dark tent over his work area. The light that filtered through was minimal, but the faint glow of his fungi was sufficient to see. In the center of this improvised space, he placed the processing pot that all students received. It was made of special opaque metal, designed to contain magical reactions. This reaction wasn't as simple as the 100 normal bronze-sized crystals from the best Ren had mined aligned perfectly around the pot's edge, each shining with a soft bluish glow. The intelligence rune rested in its own crystal box, emitting occasional flashes. Before processing the crystals in the pot, he had to use most of his mana on that rune. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed more strongly while he concentrated. Slowly, he began directing his mana toward the rune in the covered space, away from contaminating external energies. It was a delicate process, too fast, and the rune could fracture; too little, and it wouldn't reach the critical point necessary to begin synchronization with his beast. Sweat drops appeared on his forehead while maintaining the constant flow. The rune began glowing more intensely, absorbing mana from his mushrooms. Where energy drops touched the surface, tiny points began forming. Like spores, Ren thought while maintaining concentration. 10 days of this and the rune will be ready. It will be reassuring to have it from the beginning. When the process with the rune reached a stable equilibrium, Ren turned toward the poisonous fungi. Their special containers were marked with warning seals. Precise movements, he extracted all 10 fungi. Their colors were vibrant, almost hypnotic. The mortar he used was very clean. Any contamination could ruin the process. The fungi crushed under his careful strikes, releasing a sweet aroma that made his eyes water. When the paste was ready, Ren channeled a small amount of mana. The reaction was immediate, the mixture beginning to bubble softly, its color becoming more intense. The discarded parts of woody beasts and crocodile parts came in sealed containers. Upon opening them, a penetrating smell flooded the space. The moss covering them was the key. Ren directed his mana toward the small plants, which responded immediately. They began growing, spreading over the discarded tissues, consuming the decomposing matter. The process was fascinating to observe. The moss pulsed with each new extension, converting dead tissue into new life. The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed at the same rhythm, as if recognizing a familiar process. When the moss reached its maximum extension, Ren began scraping it carefully. Each strand was precious, charged with the transformed energy of bronze beasts. The collected moss fell into the poisonous fungi mixture. The bubbling liquid absorbed it eagerly, its color changing to a deeper tone. The processing pot now contained the mixture of fungi and moss that would serve as transformation medium. The preparation was complete. Now would begin the real work. 100 days of careful cultivation, each crystal absorbing the mixture's power while the rune developed its spores. In the darkness of his improvised tent, surrounded by the soft pulse of mana, Ren smiled. The first step toward true evolution was underway. The materials were ready, but one step remained to ensure the cultivation's success and reduce the pain even if just a little. The preserved female shadow stalker's body gleamed faintly in the darkness of the improvised tent. Ren manipulated it carefully, tracing the conductive fiber patterns until locating the most appropriate tentacle. A tentacle too thick would absorb too much mana. One too thin would saturate quickly. He needed an intermediate one, with the correct amount of conductive fibers. This one, he thought, while using the weaver thread to cleanly cut a tentacle the size of his index finger. The internal fibers briefly glowed when exposed, hungry for mana. With precise movements, Ren submerged the tentacle in the now mana-depleted solution he had prepared. The liquid, a mixture of poisonous fungi and moss, was instantly absorbed by the conductive fibers. The tentacle darkened as if it was a paper that had absorbed ink. The bark stalker powder came next. Ren carefully dusted it over the treated surface, watching how it adhered, forming patterns like tiny scales. The powder would seal the tentacle, preventing it from absorbing his vitality instead of just the specific mana he needed to manipulate. Now the delicate part, he thought, while unrolling more weaver thread. He began wrapping it around a section of the tentacle, creating a safe grip zone. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed with warning when he took the first crystal. The mana density was 10 times greater than those Taro used, enough to cause serious damage to his mana veins if not handled correctly. He breathed deeply, holding the modified tentacle in his right hand. He positioned it over the veins above his stomach where mana would flow most intensely. Here we go, he thought while absorbing the crystal. The pain was immediate and intense. Mana entered his system like liquid fire, threatening to instantly saturate his channels. His mushrooms began glowing strongly, trying to process the overload. Ren pressed the tentacle at a specific point on his chest. The conductive fibers, hungry but controlled by the treatment, began absorbing the excess mana, saturating the channel. The pain decreased slightly, becoming manageable. He moved the tentacle following his veins, allowing the conductive fibers to unblock saturation points. It was like opening small gates, allowing mana to flow instead of dangerously stagnating. Sweat ran down his face while maintaining concentration. One wrong move, 1 second of carelessness, and mana could fatally accumulate in his vital points. The tentacle and his willpower were his only protection against the overload that would leave him permanently unable to control mana. His mushrooms pulsed erratically, struggling to process the energy flowing through his system. Still in their dormant phase, they weren't ready to handle such power. But that was precisely why they needed this controlled overload. Ren continued moving the tentacle. The process was painfully slow. The tentacle's conductive fibers began glowing with a sickly purple tone, signaling they were saturating. Ren adjusted his grip on the thread-covered section, grateful for that precaution. Minutes that felt like hours passed while Ren struggled to maintain balance. The crystal gradually consumed itself, its mana distributed between his channels and the saturated tentacle. Finally, when the last vestige of mana was absorbed, Ren allowed himself to breathe deeply. The tentacle in his hand was glowing an intense black, saturated to its capacity limit. One down, he thought, while placing the used tentacle in a sealed container. 99 to go. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed weakly, exhausted by the effort. But there was something different in their glow, a deeper, more concentrated tone. The first step toward awakening had been taken. Across the school in the director's office, a different conversation was taking place. The director's office occupied the central tower's peak. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the school grounds, while shelves filled with ancient tomes covered walls that weren't glass. The domed ceiling was decorated with a fresco representing the dragons of different beast families, each in its natural territory. A massive dark wood desk dominated the room's center. Behind it, the director read a note with furrowed brow, while his royal phoenix subtly manifested golden flashes in his white hair.
Zhao is getting soft since that incident,
he murmured to himself while his eyes traced the lines.
100,000 credits for a student with a spore, and this story about an extraordinary genius? It's obvious he just feels pity for the boy.
He left the note on the desk, where it joined several detailed reports about the Medusa incident.
At least before, his support for the unfortunate made some sense.
He continued, his phoenix manifesting more clearly in response to his irritation.
But this is just...
Finally, he looked up at the young woman waiting patiently before his desk. Her presence was so discreet she almost seemed to merge with the room's shadows.
I need you to investigate something.
His voice adopted a more formal tone.
There's an unusual student, a boy with a spore.
The young woman nodded silently.
I see you know who he is. I want you to test him. Something to help us understand what Zhao has seen in him to insist so much.
The director took up the note again, rereading a specific passage.
I need to know if this is another of his whims, or if there really is something so special about him.
The young woman made a slight bow before heading toward the door, her movements so fluid they barely disturbed the air.
And remember,
the director added as she reached the threshold,
be discreet. We don't want your identity revealed over trifles.
Back in the gray wing, Ren continued his routine. Ren stored the used tentacle in its special container, his movements slow from exhaustion. The mushrooms in his hair barely pulsed, also exhausted from the effort of processing so much mana. His reflection in the room's small mirror showed the changes. His veins still glowed faintly under his skin, and the mushrooms seemed more defined, with a deeper shine. They weren't changes someone would notice at first glance, but they were there. A hot bath, he thought, while gathering his toiletries, and then sleep for a week. The mental exhaustion was different from anything he'd experienced before. It wasn't like tiredness after training with Lin. This was deeper, as if his mind had been stretched to its limit. He headed toward the door, eager to reach the baths before his body simply decided to collapse. Knock, knock. The knocks, though soft, startled him. It was late, his roommates didn't knock to enter, and no one else usually came to the gray wing. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed weakly in alert.
Who is it?
He asked, his voice betraying some of his exhaustion.
That doesn't matter.
A female voice answered from the other side.
Could you open for a moment?
The mushrooms in his hair pulsed weakly in alert.
Who is it?
He asked, his voice betraying some of his exhaustion from the intense cultivation session.
That doesn't matter.
Female voice answered from the other side.
Could you open for a moment?
Ren quickly looked around the room. The containers were sealed, Shadowstalker skin stored away, work area dismantled, but the smell, a mixture of poisonous fungi and decomposing tissues, still lingered heavily in the air.
Who are you?
He insisted, buying time while considering opening a window to clear the suspicious scents.
It will only take a moment.
It's very late and I'm not presentable.
Ren responded, his exhausted mind trying to process the situation.
Could it be tomorrow?
There was a pause, barely a heartbeat. The tone changed.
Open the door, fungus.
Luna's voice cut through the silence, cold and direct.
I need to talk to you.
Ren froze, of all people.
Luna.
He tried to make his voice sound firm despite the exhaustion.
I was about to take a bath. Can it really not wait until tomorrow?
No.
Ren looked around the room with desperation. Everything was stored but the smell, and he was shirtless, covered in sweat, his veins still glowing faintly from the mana manipulation.
Luna, it's really not a good time.
You have 10 seconds.
Her voice didn't change tone.
After that, my wolf will find another entrance.
As if to emphasize her words, Ren felt the shadow wolf's presence manifesting on the other side of the door. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed more strongly.
It's 5 seconds.
No choice. Luna didn't seem like someone who made empty threats. Ren opened the door. Luna stood there, her shadow wolf partially manifested in the shadow beside her, her blue eyes studying him with clinical intensity. Her gaze traveled over his bare torso, stopping at the veins that still glowed weakly with residual mana.
Interesting.
She murmured, gently pushing him to enter the room. Her nose wrinkled slightly.
Though the smell is peculiar.
Luna, please.
Sit.
She ordered, closing the door behind her.
We need to talk about what really happened during the expedition.
The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed with resignation.
Where were you when the tent fell?
Luna began while her wolf materialized more clearly, its eyes glowing with a silvery tone that seemed to pierce through him.
In the hole with everyone else, but you already know that.
Ren responded, noticing Luna's gaze focusing on his chest when he answered, studying his mana patterns.
When did you leave?
When you saw me do it, this is strange. You already know all this. Why?
Ren stopped, understanding something. Mana flowed subtly to Luna's eyes, a pattern that Ren knew generated in some beasts that used enhanced perception.
Why did you leave?
I wanted to verify something.
Lies.
Luna didn't change her expression, but her wolf growled softly.
The real reason?
Ren blinked, surprised by the certainty in her voice. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed while analyzing the mana flow in Luna's eyes again.
I wanted to help.
He answered carefully, observing her reaction. This time Luna didn't contradict him, but her eyes glowed more intensely.
How did you know you could?
I didn't know.
Ren measured each word, noticing how the mana in Luna's eyes fluctuated with each response.
I just had an idea.
When did you see Zhao?
A while after leaving the hole.
The shadow wolf took a step closer, its eyes reflecting the same glow as Luna's.
Was finding him a coincidence?
Yes.
Ren responded and saw the flash in Luna's eyes.
No.
He corrected immediately.
I knew he would be near because of the feathers left behind.
Luna narrowed her eyes, mana flowing more intensely.
How?
By the attack pattern.
The mushrooms in his hair pulsed while Ren connected the dots. Luna could detect lies, probably through small changes in the speaker's mana flow.
I see you noticed many changes, for example. Did you notice the Medusas were very organized?
Luna began.
Too organized for.
I noticed.
Ren responded, aware of the mana flowing to Luna's eyes.
What else did you notice?
That it wasn't natural. Medusas don't hunt like that.
No. Luna took a step toward him.
They don't. You know what else isn't natural? That a child with a spore knows exactly how to help during such an attack.
Ren had to be careful. Luna was building to something.
Someone must have been controlling them, right?
The shadow wolf tensed.
Why is Zhao hiding information about the attack in the official report? Why didn't he make public that they were looking for me and Klein's group?
Why don't you ask him yourself?
Don't play dumb. Zhao told you something.
Luna didn't ask. It was a statement while her wolf moved even closer.
Before disappearing and avoiding my questions.
Thanked me.
He responded calmly. It was truth.
What else?
He left me some credits for the store.
Also truth. Luna took a step toward him, her eyes glowing with a particular mana pattern. The games and roundabout hints stopped.
Who gave the order to the attackers?
I don't know that person.
Technically true, he had never met the First Minister.
But you know their name.
The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed with alarm. That was the real question Luna had come to ask. Ren maintained his neutral expression. He had to be very careful now.
I know many names.
Another truth.
Which is the culprits?
I couldn't be certain.
Also truth, he had no physical proof to be certain. Luna narrowed her eyes, mana flowing more intensely.
What did Zhao tell you exactly?
That he would conduct a careful investigation.
Truth again. The shadow wolf drew closer, its eyes reflecting the same glow as Luna's. They were looking for the slightest fluctuation in his mana that would betray a lie.
Why?
Because accusations have consequences.
You're good.
She said finally.
Very good.
Ren observed the mana flow in Luna's eyes that were now very close.
You can detect lies, can't you? That's why the pattern in your eyes changes with each response.
Luna tensed.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now you're lying.
Ren smiled, the mushrooms in his hair pulsing with enthusiasm.
Think I'm understanding the trick.
Impossible.
Luna stepped back.
You couldn't see?
My spore can detect mana patterns too.
Ren advanced, for the first time feeling he had the advantage. Luna stared at him while confirming that what Ren said was true.
Show it to me,
said Ren, his smile widening at seeing Luna lose composure and backing away as he approached, turning the tables.
Show me how it really works. Now you're lying.
Ren smiled, the mushrooms in his hair pulsing with enthusiasm.
Think I'm understanding the trick.
Impossible.
Luna stepped back, her composure slipping for the first time.
You couldn't see.
My spore can detect mana patterns too.
Ren advanced, for the first time feeling he had the advantage in their verbal sparring. Luna stared at him while confirming that what Ren said was true.
Show it to me,
said Ren, his smile widening at seeing Luna lose composure and backing away as he approached, turning the tables on her intimidation tactics.
Show me how it really works.
Don't get cocky.
Luna recovered some of her usual hardness.
You're still just a foolish fungus who says nonsense about illogical evolutions and believes they're true.
She raised her hands to push him back, grabbing his wrists.
Why do you insist on saying things that go against all logic?
She tried to push him backward, expecting to easily dominate him with her superior strength enhancement percentage. Her eyes widened with surprise at finding strong resistance.
Surprised?
Ren maintained his position, Lin's training finally showing results.
Enhancements don't matter if they're multiplying miserable values.
Luna narrowed her eyes, her pride wounded. Her wolf began manifesting more fully, preparing to merge and increase her strength. The door burst open.
Ren, you won't believe what.
Min froze mid-sentence, his eyes opening like sauce. Lu and Taro crashed into his back, curious to see what had stopped him. Their jaws dropped almost in unison. The scene before them was difficult to explain. Ren, shirtless and covered in sweat, his mushrooms glowing intensely. Luna, the untouchable Luna, with her hands gripping Ren's wrists, her perfect blue hair unusually disheveled. The room smelled strange. Sheets hung creating mysterious shadows, and there was a tension in the air that could almost be cut with a knife. Both frozen in what appeared to be a power struggle.
Oh.
Min stepped back, colliding with Taro.
My.
Continued Taro, stumbling into Liu.
Dragon.
Completed Liu, his bat manifesting briefly from nervousness.
We.
Taro stammered, his beetle's markings flickering with embarrassment.
We should come back later.
No.
Luna released Ren as if he burned, her usual grace completely forgotten.
It's not what?
We'll sleep in the hallway.
Min announced suddenly, his voice 2 octaves higher than normal, his water snake coiling nervously around his neck.
Yes, the hallway.
Taro nodded frantically.
It's a beautiful night to sleep on the floor.
Very hygienic.
Added Liu, backing away.
Dust is good for the lungs.
Wait, it's not what it looks like.
Ren tried to explain, but his friends were practically climbing over each other to escape.
Take your time.
Min shouted from the hallway, his voice cracking.
Yes, don't worry about us.
Taro's voice sounded strangled. Luna turned toward him, her cheeks red with fury and embarrassment.
This is your fault.
My fault? You started it.
Ugh.
Luna headed toward the door, her manifested wolf ears drooping with embarrassment.
This isn't over, fungus, and next time.
She stopped, trying to recover her dignity.
Next time we'll be in a more appropriate place. But if anyone...
She hissed.
Here's a single word about this.
She didn't finish the threat. The room's shadows seemed to come alive, wrapping around her like a dark cloak. In a blink, Luna and her wolf merged with them, disappearing as if they had never been there. Ren stood in the middle of the room, shirtless, sweaty, and suddenly very aware of how ridiculous the entire situation was. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed once, as if laughing.
Guys.
He called toward the hallway.
You can come back. It's not what you think.
We're not thinking anything.
Min's voice came from far away.
Absolutely nothing. Our minds are completely empty.
Added Taro.
Like my future memory of tonight.
Completed Liu. Ren sighed. At least he had discovered Luna's secret about detecting lies, and she had discovered that maybe, just maybe, she had underestimated.
Foolish fungus.
There was a long silence from the hallway.
Is she gone?
Min's voice sounded cautious.
Yes, she's gone.
Through the door?
Asked Liu.
Not exactly.
Use the shadows again?
Taro sounded impressed. The three peeked their heads around the door, one above the other like an improvised tower, their beasts manifesting briefly in curiosity.
Is it safe to enter?
Min sniffed the air.
And what's that smell?
It's a long story.
Ren began gathering his bath things lazily, exhausted after everything that had happened.
We have all night.
Liu entered first, his bat manifesting to inspect the room.
Especially after that.
It's not what it looked like.
Ren defended while Taro and Min also entered, closing the door behind them.
You weren't having a romantic moment with Luna.
Min arched an eyebrow, his water snake coiling playfully.
Romantic?
Ren nearly choked.
She was interrogating me.
Without a shirt?
Taro grinned, his beetle's markings shifting in amusement.
I was going to take a bath when she appeared.
Huh.
Liu nodded solemnly.
And I suppose she tripped and you fell on her.
No, she was.
Ren stopped, remembering he couldn't explain the real reason.
We were just talking.
Very closely.
Min wiggled his eyebrows suggestively.
And in the dark.
Added Taro.
With mysteriously hanging sheets.
Completed Liu. Ren groaned, collapsing onto his bed.
You're impossible.
And you're a heartbreaker.
Min sat beside him.
Who would have thought? First Lin, now Luna.
Taro pretended to wipe away a tear.
Our little fungus is growing up.
Lin just trains me.
Ren protested.
And Luna hates me.
Hate and love are very close.
Liu philosophized, his bat nodding sage.
Can we change the subject?
Ren pleaded.
Weren't you going to tell me something when you came in?
The three exchanged looks.
Oh, right, about the mines.
Min smiled.
But this...
He gestured at the room and hanging sheets.
Is much more interesting, though it stinks.
Added Taro.
What were you really doing?
Ren sighed. This was going to be a very long night.
I'm going to take a bath,
he announced, standing.
And when I come back, we'll talk about anything else but Luna, understood?
Whatever you say.
Lou winked.
Romeo.
His friend's laughter followed him into the hallway. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed with resignation. They would never let him forget this. At least Luna was equally embarrassed. That was a small consolation. Next morning, Lynn appeared before Ren with her trademark sadistic smile. Not even his exhaustion from the cultivation process could save him from training.
Faster.
Lynn's voice cut through the morning air as she made him run with weighted bands strapped to his limbs. When he was finally released that afternoon, his muscles trembling from exertion, Ren decided to demonstrate his cultivation process to his friends. They gathered around, watching with curiosity and apprehension as he meticulously laid out his materials.
First, I crushed the poisonous fungi.
Ren began explaining, his movements precise and practiced. Min nodded along, following the process with keen interest until Ren reached the part about overloading with 10 times more mana than Taro, and controlling his veins with the tentacle while enduring excruciating pain. His eyes glazed over and he toppled backward like a felled tree.
Min.
Taro lunged forward to catch him. Lou observed in silence, his bat ears occasionally manifesting as a reflection of his unease. The methodical way Ren handled materials that would make most people retch was disturbing, to say the least.
And you say you'll absorb all that every day for 100 days?
Lou finally asked, his voice a blend of admiration and horror.
Just 100 days.
Ren replied with an unsettling casualness. Lou nodded slowly, his respect for Ren growing alongside a healthy dose of caution. There was again something deeply unsettling about the ease with which his friend handled substances that could kill a grown adult. The following days fell into a new routine. Classes continued as normal, though Luna now watched Ren with an intensity that made everyone around them uncomfortable.
I think she's plotting your death.
Taro whispered one day during May's class.
Tss. Or your wedding,
Min added, earning a sharp elbow from Ren. Training sessions with Lin grew more intense. Each day brought new exercises, new aches, new boundaries to push past. The mushrooms in Ren's hair seemed to pulse in rhythm with his growing strength.
Your body is changing.
Lin observed as she watched him lift weights, her keen eyes noting the subtle transformations.
Whatever cultivation you're doing, it's working.
Ren could only grunt in response, too focused on not dying from exhaustion and pain. Finally, at the end of the second month, the official crystal report arrived. Ren opened his during breakfast, the mushrooms in his hair pulsing with anticipation. The report detailed everything. Crystals mined from the caves, specimens collected, even processed and sold beast hides. Guard signatures and Master Song's verification certified the mined crystals, while Isaac and Jesse's signatures confirmed the hide sales profits. Zhao's signature at the bottom of the collection report certified each of the last items. Ren's eyes grew wider and wider as he tallied the amounts. The Academy would double everything. Crystals found in the caves, beast materials values, collected materials, processed and sold materials profits.
How much is it?
Min leaned over his shoulder, curiosity evident in his voice. Ren revealed the total. His friends gasped in unison.
No wonder Luna's interested.
Taro joked, earning a death glare from Ren. Later that day, Ren headed to the Academy's bank. The Academy's bank occupied the administrative tower's first floor, a surprisingly modest space considering the wealth it managed. At this hour, it was nearly empty, with only a few senior students making routine inquiries. Ren felt small as he climbed the stairs, his official report clutched firmly in hand.
Well, look who it is.
Mr. Finch's high-pitched, mocking voice sliced through the silence.
The Academy's most prosperous fungus cultivator. My most intriguing depositor.
The banker was a short, thin man with round spectacles that magnified his eyes until they resembled those of a startled mouse. His perfectly trimmed mustache seemed to have a life of its own when he spoke. Despite his impeccable banker's uniform, something in his eyes suggested he found everything terribly amusing. His beast, a small white mouse, occasionally darted between his fingers as he counted crystals.
Good afternoon, Mr. Finch.
Ren approached the counter, the mushrooms in his hair pulsing gently.
Come to confess your crimes.
Finch smiled as his mouse approached, sniffing the air suspiciously.
Because I must say, 5 dark bronze crystals 2 weeks ago was quite interesting. Not many 10-year-olds handle that denomination.
Actually,
Ren began pulling out the report.
Oh, wait, don't tell me.
Finch raised a hand dramatically.
Found an ancestral treasure? Robbed a noble's chest? Or perhaps your mushrooms have hallucinogenic properties, and you've been selling them to the senior students?
The mushrooms pulsed with amusement as Ren slid the report across the counter.
What's this?
Finch adjusted his glasses.
Your written confession? How considerate. Normally I have to.
He stopped mid-sentence, arching an eyebrow while stroking his mustache, his eyes growing even larger behind his glasses as he read.
This is...
He blinked several times, his mouse jumping to review the numbers.
No, there must be a mistake.
Is there a problem?
Ren asked, suppressing a smile.
Problem?
Finch let out a hysterical laugh.
The problem is these numbers make no sense. 2 weeks ago, You bring 5 dark bronze crystals, which was already suspicious enough. And now?
He consulted the report again.
55,000 additional crystals?
His mouse began frantically calculating in a small notebook.
105,000 crystals in total.
Finch removed his glasses to clean them compulsively.
With a spore? The weakest recorded creature? Are you certain you haven't been selling illegal substances?
Everything's in the report,
Ren replied.
with Professor Song and Zhao's signatures.
Ah, yes, the signatures.
Finch narrowed his eyes.
You're sure you didn't forge them? Or perhaps hypnotize the professors? Do your mushrooms have hypnotic properties in addition to being hallucinogenic?
I just need to withdraw 5,000 crystals.
Just he says.
Finch turned to his mouse.
Did you hear that, Theodore? Just 5,000 crystals. As if it were pocket change.
The mouse nodded solemnly while continuing its calculations, tiny paws moving across the ledger with surprising dexterity.
You know.
Finch leaned over the counter, his eyes gleaming with undisguised curiosity.
I've been at this bank for 15 years. I've seen students with legendary beasts amass fortunes. I've watched nobles squander entire inheritances. But never, and I mean never, have I seen someone with a spore earn so much in such a short time.
He straightened, adjusting his glasses with practiced precision.
Either you're a criminal genius, or there's more to those mushrooms of yours than anyone thought.
About those 5,000 crystals?
Ren persisted.
Yes.
Finch began counting but paused mid-motion.
Just 5,000? No grand plans? No extravagant investments? No fleet of golden carriages?
Not for now.
Boring.
Finch sighed dramatically.
Sure you won't share your secret? Between financial colleagues? I promise not to tell anyone. Except Theodore, of course, but he's a vault. Aren't you, Theodore?
The mouse nodded again, though its whiskers quivered with what appeared to be suppressed laughter.
Just good luck,
Ren replied.
Good luck?
Finch snorted while counting crystals.
Next you'll tell me you won it all playing dice.
As the banker prepared his withdrawal, Ren reflected on his true plans. The mushrooms in his hair pulsed while his thoughts drifted to his home. The problem was that now they had to rent it. First, Ren thought while Finch counted crystals with unnecessary flourish, I'll get their house back. Then, his eyes gleamed with determination. Then I'll show them they can have more.
Voila!
Finch interrupted his thoughts, presenting the crystals with a theatrical gesture and sliding them toward Ren.
Here you are, my mysterious mycological magnate. 5,000 crystals, perfectly counted by the humble servant before you and verified by the illustrious Theodore.
The mouse executed a small bow.
Thank you.
Oh no, thank you.
Finch smiled while stroking his mustache.
You've made my week far more interesting. Usually, I just see students complaining their allowances won't cover cultivation crystals. But you...
He shook his head with mock admiration.
You're a mystery wrapped in an enigma and covered in glowing mushrooms.
The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed with what seemed to be amusement as he stored the crystals.
Until next time, Mr. Finch.
Ah, a threat of future surprises.
Finch turned to his mouse.
Theodore, keep an eye on this one. When we least expect it, he'll show up riding a dragon made of fungi.
As Ren walked away, he could hear Finch muttering.
A spore, 105,000 crystals. Theodore, perhaps we should consider a career in mycology.